So in the previous video, we were wanting to find the solution to a function. This time it's telling me to find the zeros. Well, if you recall from the beginning of these notes, zeros, solution, roots, they all mean the same thing. So for this one, we're doing exactly what we did in the previous video. Here it just has the function f of x is equal to 2x squared minus 11x plus 12. But since we're wanting to find the zeros, we're wanting to know what my x values are when y is equal to 0, or in other words, when f of x is equal to 0. So I can rewrite this to say 2x squared minus 11x plus 12 is equal to 0. And so now to solve this, I need to factor it. This time my a does not equal 1, so I either need to see if I have a GCF, or I'm going to factor using the AC method. Here I see I did not have a GCF because of that 11, so I want to go into the AC method. So I'm going to multiply a times c, so that's 2 times 12 to get 24. And I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to 24, but then add to equal negative 11. So since that's multiplying to a positive 24 but adding to a negative 11, that means that both my factors need to be negative. So I have negative 1 times negative 24 is 24. Negative 2 times negative 12 is 24. And negative 3 times negative 8. And negative 4 times negative 6. And so looking at those pairings and seeing which ones to add to negative 11, I see I get negative 3, negative 8. And so I'm going to use those to split the middle. So instead of negative 11x, I'm going to have negative 3x minus 8x. And then I'm going to bring down my 2x squared, bring down my 12. So I just split apart that middle term. And now I'm going to factor by grouping. So looking at my first pair, I see my GCF between 2x squared and minus 3x is x. And dividing x from both, I get 2x minus 3. And then looking at my second pair, I have negative 8x plus 12. And so looking at my GCF, it's going to be 4. But I don't want that x term to be negative because I see my first pairing here, my x term is positive. So I'm going to take out a negative 4. And when I divide negative 8x by negative 4, I get 2x. 12 by negative 4, I get minus 3. And I see that my two binomials match, so I know I'm good, and so I can factor that out. So I have 2x minus 3, x minus 4 is equal to 0. And now I can go ahead and use the zero product property to solve. And so this means that either 2x minus 3 is equal to 0, or x minus 4 is equal to 0. Solve this first one, I'm just going to add 3 to both sides. And then divide by 2, and I get x is equal to 3 halves. Add 4, I get x equals 4. So my two answers are x is equal to 3 halves, comma, 4. Okay, looking at one more, I have f of x is equal to 14x squared minus 36x minus 18. So at first step, since I'm finding the zeros, I know that f of x is equal 0, so I can rewrite this to say 14x squared minus 36x minus 18 is equal to 0. And then now I want to factor this, and so I always like to look for GCF first. Here I see that I do have a GCF of 2. And so since we're solving, I don't need to actually leave that 2 out in front. I can go ahead and just divide everything by 2. Oops. Important thing to note, I can't divide, if there was an x shared here, I couldn't divide that out because I'd lose the solution, but with just numbers, you can go ahead and divide it out. And so now I have 7x squared minus 18x minus 9 is equal to 0. It's a little bit of an easier one to look at. A is still not equal to 0 or equal to 1 though, so I still need to use the AC method. So I'm going to do 7 times 9, negative 9, to get negative 63. So I'm looking to see what two numbers add to negative 6, or multiply to negative 63 and add to equal negative 18. Since we're adding to a negative number and multiplying to a negative number, my bigger number needs to be negative. So I first have 1 and negative 63. 2 doesn't go in there, but 3 and negative 21 does. 4 doesn't, 5 doesn't, 6, and then 7 and negative 9. So looking at those pairings, I see 3 and negative 21 add to negative 18. So I'm going to split apart that negative 18x to be 3x minus 21x, and then bring down my first and last term. And then factoring this by grouping, I see my GCF in my first pair is x, so I'm going to factor out the x, and I'm left with 7x plus 3. For negative 21x minus 9, I can factor out a negative 3, and I'm left with 7x plus 3. And then factoring out my binomial, I have 7x plus 3 times x minus 3 is equal to 0. And now I can go ahead and solve for both. So I have 7x plus 3 equals 0, x minus 3 equals 0. Subtracting 3 from both sides, I get 7x is equal to negative 3. And then dividing by 7, I get x is equal to negative 3/7. And then x is equal to 3. So my two answers here are negative 3/7 and 3.